need unaddressed at any point in time. And at the end of the day, we have seen few of our own patients not reaching till transplant just because of financial assistance not being made very promptly to them. Now, this particular session was framed to address that particular area, to discuss in detail, and we have some of the prominent people to talk about that, who have been in this kind of activities, be it within our own team members, or we have a couple of external experts to share their views how we can help our recipients to reach out till transplants. I just received a message from Dr. Muhammad. He's just stuck with an emergency meeting with the government. Probably he might join once he's done, but then let's move on with what we have initially planned. I also welcome Mr. Nathan, who has been in the insurance activity for decades time, and please welcome, sir. Please pitch in your ideas, just in case if you think that we as transplant coordinators have space for in the counseling process to help our recipients to address the financial issues. I request Anita to take over and set the floor for discussions. Thank you all.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Netaji, for giving me this opportunity, and welcome each and every IATC members of our organization. And also, I would like to invite our panelists to the session, Mr. Johnson Alphonse and Mr. Ajit Babu from MILAP, Head of Business Development and Partnership in MILAP, and also Dr. Mohammad Ashil, who were not able to attend today, but he might try his best to join today. And also I welcome Mr. Nathan from the Insurance Department. So today we'll be talking about the financial aspects of assistance for transplant recipients, and this is the fifth session of IATC's webinar series on transplant coordination in liver transplant program. So the journey of each and every patient, the story of each and every patient is different. We see these patients in day-to-day life in our transplant coordination experience. So each patient is unique, each family is unique. So currently, if I'm speaking from my experience for today, we have a patient who is waiting for a transplant, who needs an emergency transplant, and surprisingly, they are getting fund from MILAP program now. We are on the roll. It's been 2 days we have started the fundraising, and we have got almost 1 lakh currently, and we are trying our best more, and MILAP is helping us like anything. So every day we face a lot of problems in the family itself. So if you're strategizing the family members, there are people who has everything, like they have financial resources, they have donors, they have good family education, everything. But there are people who don't have any of these. They don't know what is health, and they don't have any financial resources. So these are the times that we pitch in. The transplant coordinators or the social worker in the team can pitch in and start for a fund mobilizing program. So currently, the public is always unaware of the assistance that we get for transplant patients. So in this panel discussion, we have a person representing for state financial assistance for transplant patients, and also central government programs that we have for transplant patients. And also we all live in a digital world now, so MILAP is a great platform, crowdfunding platform, to get the financial assistance for all the patients. So here now I would like to welcome Mr. Ajit Babu, Head and Business Development Partnership of MILAP, to have a few words about your fundraising programs, especially for transplant patients. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Anita, and thank you, the entire IITC team. We're truly honored to be on this platform. Of course, the kind of work that you guys, all of the transplant coordinators as well as the medical team does, of course, that is the most important aspect when it comes to ensuring that the patients get the right medical care when it is needed. Fundraising, of course, is extremely important, and we are, of course, very happy to have continuously played a small role in that whole process. So, if I talk about Milap, as most of you might be aware here that they're essentially a Bangalore-based company. And a web platform or a website where people who are in need of funds for medical or personal emergencies essentially come and start a fundraiser. So this platform essentially is for people to use on their own. Right? It's a tool that most of the people come and start using on their own, essentially communicating their story or their need or the emergency, and essentially leveraging the power of social media through WhatsApp or various integrations that we have on the page, including Facebook or all other promotional tools like Twitter, etc., etc. So people essentially communicate their story through words, through text, through video. It's a place where all of this can be done very easily by the users, and then communicate that story and make it go out there where people can see it, and whoever is wanting to donate or willing to help can essentially come and donate onto the platform. So it's essentially making it easy for people to ask for help. At the same time, it's also the mission is to also ensure that it's easy for people who are wanting to help can actually come and help people in need. So our entire objective has been to create that product. So that is the journey that we've been undertaking for the last 10 years now. And thankfully, it has been in the right direction. We have raised more than 1,200 crores, almost 80 to 90% of our fundraisers are medical in nature, which means people are coming to essentially raise for emergencies. Most of these folks are people like you and me who are probably from the middle class. We don't really see, of course, a lot of rich people coming and fundraising on the crowdfunding platforms, of course, because like you rightly said, they already have the necessary resources. And in some cases where we also essentially partner with hospitals, we also try to help out some of the folks who are not really tech savvy, who do not have a very very good understanding of the whole process. So for the really poor ones, what we essentially do is we try to go the extra mile of helping them setting up that fundraiser, helping them driving it in their own network, whatever little network that we have. And in select cases, we also try to take up the story and write it on through our editorial team and promote it online to raise some funds. So, however, if you talk about our overall business, 90% of our work is organic, where people come, they start their own fundraisers and they raise through their own networks. 10% of our overall volumes are through channel partners, where hospitals recommend patients to us and we try to raise money for these patients. Right. I think, that's broadly in terms of what we currently function as. So if anybody has any other questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
So I would like to ask you one thing, just to get everybody understand about this. How do you analyze that this particular patient is from a low income strata, or do you just start funding for every patient whoever requested in Milap?
Right. So when we talk about what is started organically, both have different kinds of aspects involved. When people are coming directly online to start a fundraiser of their own, we do not go and actually check what their income strata is, right? Because we as a platform are very agnostic. We have to be very neutral. So we will treat each and every person who's coming there as equal. Now, the person writes the story and it is up to them to essentially promote it within their own network. So the people who come and actually donate on their fundraisers are their own friends, family, relatives, colleagues, alumni networks, etc., etc. So we essentially leave it to them that whether they want to donate or not donate. And once they donate, what we essentially ensure is that the funds which are raised are withdrawn against what is exactly mentioned on the campaign. So if somebody says that I want to raise money for my liver transplant or my kidney transplant or whatever medical expense, at the time of withdrawal, we will ensure that the money goes either directly to the hospital or it is going as a reimbursement to the person's account if the treatment is already done. Right? So if the treatment is due, we will transfer to the hospital's account. So And for that also, we will ask for the KYC documents, we will ask for the banking details, and we'll verify all of the bills. We'll check with the hospitals if all of this is legitimate, etc., etc. We have some tools to also verify the documentation. So once all of that is done, only then do we let the money go out. And even when the money goes out into the end beneficiary's account, we essentially update all of the donors that the money raised for this particular campaign is being utilized, and this is the current health update of how the patient is doing. So that is how we work. When it comes to hospital recommended campaigns, of course, the hospital decides which patient needs to be referred to MILAP, etc., etc. So I'm sure in that case, there is a good amount of thought process that goes in terms of which patients to recommend, and more often than not, it's mostly the poor patients that get referred for us to essentially write a story and promote it. That process is slightly different because we are promoting this to an unknown network, like a stranger network, people who do not know the patient, people who do not know probably about MILAP or even the hospital. So we have to be very, very sure that the case is really genuine and legit and they really need that kind of money. And hence we rely on the hospital partners to send us only verified cases, which of course is the case. We also send across a freelancer who goes to the hospital, meets the patients, takes the photos, understands the story, comes back, gives those inputs to our writers who will then essentially call the family and then verify all of that once again and only then write the story. So that when we are promoting those stories online on a Facebook or any other platform, we are very sure they are all authentic, genuine, verified stories. Right? So in terms of us verifying, we don't necessarily verify the income strata of a person. We essentially verify whether the need is genuine or not, and whether that need and the funds raised are going to that particular need or not. So that's essentially the two things that we kind of look for.
Okay, and if a patient needs 15 lakhs for a treatment, yes, and the patient directly applied for that in MILAP, you have started a fundraising campaign, and if the bill comes like it's only 10 lakhs, the bill amount is only 10 lakhs. So the fund collected is almost 15 lakhs. And what happened to the other 5 lakhs?
So again, whenever a person provides us to start a fundraiser, we essentially ask for the estimate from the hospital, right? So we set the goal based on what estimate has been provided by the hospital. Once the funds are raised and once the treatment is done, I mean, thankfully, if the funds required have been lesser, we essentially go back and give that as an update to all of the donors that the treatment is over. We of course verify the bills before the money goes out. So if the bill is only for 10 lakh, we will let go only of 10 lakhs at that point of time. We will not transfer the entire 15 lakh. So whatever is the 10 lakh, we will essentially cover for that. The fundraiser, the platform also allows people to cover for costs which were incurred 3 months before the treatment and 3 months after the treatment also. So if there is an ailment where somebody has already spent few lakhs before they got admitted for the surgery, and if there are funds available, along with an update that goes out, we essentially allow people to kind of cover for the expenses that they've already incurred. If there are follow-up expenses, for example, in most transplant cases, there will be medications lifelong, right? So even in that case, we will essentially allow them to withdraw that money periodically to cover for those kind of expenses or follow-ups, etc.
I think that's a great point, because for all the transplant patients, we have immunosuppression. Correct. Till their lifelong immunosuppression is there. So if there is an excess amount raised through MILAP, they can use that eventually, respectively, in every month for buying medicines and all. Correct. I think that's a great point. So, in your experience, how many of the transplant patients are there who have raised fund in your program? Do you think that majority of them were transplant patients or cancer patients, or what is your opinion on that?
Mostly we have raised more than 750 crores out of around 12 to 1300 crores that we've raised on the platform. Around 750 crores is for medical fundraisers, right? And when I talk about medical, of course, this includes all kinds of medical treatments, but mostly people who come to crowdfunding are folks who are looking at raising more than at least 4 to 5 lakhs. And most of these would be severe or serious kind of treatments or surgeries, and of course transplants. So kidney transplants, liver transplants, bone marrow transplants, and cancer treatments, long-term cancer treatments, as well as PICU, NICU cases are the most frequent ones that we see as medical fundraisers on the platform. Transplants, I would say, safely cover at least 50% of the medical fundraisers that come on the platform. And in terms of success, I mean, overall crowdfunding as a platform generally sees a success of anywhere between 30 to 40% on average. So just because you start a fundraiser on Millhub does not mean that 100% of the funds would be raised, because it's entirely up to how aggressively the campaign organizer, his friends and family members spread the story in their own networks, how passionate they are to kind of come forward and donate and all of that. So it entirely depends on how motivated the families and the people are to kind of do something for this particular patient. So on an average, we see around 30 to 40% of the overall funds required being collected via crowdfunding on an average. Of course, there are many campaigns which raise the entire amount. There are some which do not raise much at all. But yeah, this is like one of the avenues through which people can essentially raise funds. So we encourage them to always keep other options open as well. Some of the options include, the government funds or the government schemes or grants, as well as other NGOs or other charity organizations that can help. So if there is a gap, they essentially try to cover through that plus their savings, etc. One big advantage with crowdfunding is that, what I've heard, and again, I've heard this mostly from doctors and, liver transplant doctors, etc., that previously when these kind of services weren't available, people used to end up selling their gold, selling their houses, etc., just to basically try and save a child or a person. Now, with this option, at least some of those people don't have to kind of do that, because they can, even after taking the treatment, the worst part is that they've gone so down in the whole, the financial spectrum that even if they get that transplant done, in all likelihood, they would not be able to sustain as a family for long, or even sustain the person who's gotten the treatment if they've sold everything and they've become so financially dependent. So with this, at least the chances are that some amount of funds will be raised through a kind of a platform which will reduce the burden on the family, ensuring that there is more success in the long term, because people will be able to afford the immunosuppressant drugs and the follow-up care, and possibly also kind of ensure that the family or the quality of life of the family does not go down to a level where there's no point of even kind of having done this in the first place. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ajit. I think you have given all the important points to us. We'll come back to you.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Essentially, many of us take money from out of pocket, like just Ajit mentioned. So we would like to talk. We would like to know about a few of the insurance policies that we have for transplant patients. For that, may I invite Mr. Nathan from the insurance department to have a few words.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm S.S. Nathan, General Manager, Group General Manager from Kaveri Group of Hospitals. I'm in the insurance in the healthcare industry for more than a decade, more than 15 years. I'm happy to join in IATC platform. This is the first time. I have discussed with Mr. Netaji for the past 7-8 years, more than nearly 10 years. And I attended so many transplant meetings in our DMS office in Tamil Nadu. Any details you required me, tell me. Are you very particular about only insurance, or normally for the transplant, we will categorize into 3 types of people. One is below poverty line people. One is middle class, but can't afford for the procedures like liver transplant or any high-end procedures. And people with affordability. And the insurance, recent trend is one is Ayushman Bharat came. Previously, if any person wants to do procedure under government scheme, they can do only in that same state. They can't go to any other state like in Tamil Nadu. Recently, last 6 months back or 1 year back, what happened, Ayushman Bharat has informed that any state of people can go anywhere in India, they can utilize the ration card with Ayushman Bharat scheme. For an example, in Chennai, any multi-specialty hospital, Chennai or Bangalore or any other place, the person came from Assam. Then a liver transplant in Chennai, one multi-specialty hospital. Just he need only the Aadhaar card proof and ration card and ID proof and all. And with that, we have done a procedure and the fund transferred to government of Tamil Nadu government health scheme, and that same amount will be transferred to the hospital within 15 days. The package and procedure as per the government schemes. I have spoken only about the government scheme. Any other details you require?
So currently, for below poverty line patients, you have Bharat scheme. And
Yes.
what is the annual income that they need to produce?
No, actually, government will say below poverty line people less than 72,000 is annual income, but most of the people they have that card, eligible card.
Okay.
Say if they went to that local office like Tahsildar office or municipality office, they will get the government scheme card and all. And very important, still now we have to create awareness to the transplant patients. If they don't have CM scheme card, I mean, in my state I'm speaking about Tamil Nadu scheme, Chief Minister's Comprehensive Health Insurance Scheme, they can go to Tahsildar office or the collector office with the ration card. Immediately, within 2 hours, they will give the health card. With that card, they are eligible. Sorry?
Within 2 hours, they'll get a health card.
Yes. On the spot, they will give the card. On the spot, they will give a card. Or minimum, they will give the reference ID number of the family. Okay. Previously, we have to apply, and they will issue the card after 6 months or after 3 months. It will come through the post and all. Now it is not like that. In Tamil Nadu, if we go to collector office and they will issue the card within 2 hours, they have separate Kishok and collect each and every collector office. Within 2 hours, they will give the card. That card is eligible for 4 lakhs per year, per family 1 lakh, and it is eligible for the high-end procedures like liver transplant also. The insurance, United India Insurance will give 2 lakhs and balance amount will be given by the government of Tamil Nadu Health Department.
Okay. Okay, sir. Is there any long-term help from this insurance scheme?
Long term means, sorry.
For they will have immunosuppressants for a long since it's a lifelong medications for them. So is there any support for that?
The same below poverty line card, we can use that card and they are eligible for dialysis. Even the post-operative medicines also, they are eligible for that. With that card, they can go to if the insurance card is maximum limit is only 1 lakh or 4 lakhs. Once it is completed, they can go to government public health center and they can apply for the post-operative medicines. Post-transplant medicine, they can get it from the public health centers of all over Tamil Nadu. If the patients from the Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
This facility was given in the Tamil Nadu. All public health center will give free medicines for cardiac surgeries and post-operative procedure medicines like cardiac surgeries or PTCA patients, high-end transplant patients, and any other procedures. Only thing initially, first time they have to wait for 15 days or 30 days. After that, every month they have a rotation. Every month they may give the time date like 1st and 15th or 10th and 30th, something like that. On that day, they have to go to the public health center. They can get the medicine.
Okay. Okay. Do you often see patients who have applied for Prime Minister Health Fund, PM Fund?
Yeah, PM. Yeah. No, actually, the patient can directly approach only the hospital and they will approach only the CM scheme. I mean, local state government scheme. The state government and central government, they have tie-up and they will send the process through the CM scheme or local state government scheme only. we can't apply directly to the PM scheme. But we are eligible for that. For example, we are eligible for 5 lakhs of PM scheme. If the state government scheme 2 lakhs is completed, then we can utilize the balance amount from the PM scheme.
Okay. Can you speak more about Ayushman Bharat scheme that you're currently undergoing?
No, actually, still they have to update so many things because so many states, they want to implement their own schemes itself. For example, you take Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and they have their own scheme. Ayushman Bharat scheme is eligible for each and every citizen of India.
Okay, that's a central
Yes,
government.
it's a central. Every citizen of India is eligible for Ayushman Bharat. I'm speaking about below poverty line people. You go to website, the procedure list and everything will come. The sum insured is 5 lakhs per year per family. Please note down 5 lakhs per year per family.
Okay.
But as a special case, we are eligible for the transplant procedure like liver transplant or high-end procedures also. This 5 lakhs per year per family is common health problems.
Common health problems. Okay.
Yes. For high-end procedures, the hospital and the state government scheme, they will approach a DMS and they will get the relief from the fund from the government itself.
Okay.
That amount will be borne by the central government.
Okay.
They will directly send the money to the state government DMS office, and the hospital will get the money after 2 or 3 months. The balance amount will be given to the hospitals.
Okay. So currently this card will be for transplant surgeries. This card can be used for the CM scheme.
Yes.
They'll get 4 lakhs in hand for the surgery.
No.
4 to 5 lakhs.
No. 2 lakhs from the insurance, we will get the 2 lakhs for any transplant procedures.
2 lakhs for any transplant procedures.
Any transplant, even renal transplant or liver transplant, 2 lakhs immediately. At the time of discharge itself, the patient, the money will transfer to the hospital, say within a week. Okay. Then balance amount will be given by the government. Patient is not going to pay any single paise from the packet. It is purely cashless treatment for the patient, whether it is liver transplant patient or renal transplant patient.
Okay.
It is a financial management between the hospital, state government health scheme and the central government health scheme. There will be no need to involve in the patient related area.
So ultimately, this patient can get done this transplant surgery free of cost in Tamil
Yes,
Nadu.
as per government scheme, yes.
So this patient can go to any hospital, any private or public hospital in Tamil Nadu,
Any empaneled hospitals.
any empaneled
Yeah,
hospitals.
any empaneled hospitals under the government scheme.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Mr.
Very
Yeah.
important. Even if they don't have any chief ministers, the health card, if they are having the ration card with the family members, they can go to collector office, district collector office, and they can get a health card by providing the ration card. And one of the family members to go to the collector office. They will take a snap, they will take a photo, and within 2 hours they will give the CM scheme health card, or minimum they will give the reference ID number of the health card. With that reference ID, they can go to any hospital and they can get the cashless facility.
Okay.
The insurance department, the insurance desk in the hospital, they will apply to the government scheme with the reference ID and they will get the approval for any procedure, whether it may be cardiac surgery or it may be renal transplant or it may be liver transplant. Of course, we have to submit the related documents.
Okay.
You know, the transplant, all the transplant people knows about the process and the procedures and all before surgery, what are the documents to be submitted. But the patient is eligible for that cashless treatment. Whether it is Ayushman Bharat or CM scheme, anything, both are eligible.
Okay. So one of our coordinators says in the forum that many of the hospitals do not accept this CM's scheme card. So he has encountered a lot of cases where the funds were not allocated since the hospital is not empaneled. So do you think enough?
It is not like that, not empaneled and all. There are selected hospitals who is doing liver transplant and all who can do the procedures. See, all the CM scheme empaneled hospitals can't do all transplant procedures.
Okay.
Okay. The specialty doctors must be available, and post-operative ICU must be available, and post-operative care doctors must be available, and even after discharge patient may come again, so that selected hospital will do the procedures. And in Tamil Nadu, they have done a successful transplant procedures for the past 10 years, I think to 2011 onwards. Aggressively they are doing from 2014-15 onwards.
Okay. So, in your experience, those who have applied for the scheme, how many % of them have gone through this fund? How many % have got this fund? Those who have applied, how many % got success? How many?
So if the patient is need of transplant and if the organ is available and the patient is fit for surgery, the hospital is going to do the procedure immediately. There will be no percentage and all actually. 100% they are eligible, 100% they can do the procedure. If the patient is fit, they got the organ, they can do the procedure immediately.
So the patient need to have a medical clearance and then legal clearance, finance clearance.
Yeah, finance we will take care. Legal and medical clearance only we need. Yes.
Can I ask?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Sagai. Yes, please go on.
Yeah, I understand, sir, for your information, but it would be better that if you could talk about more on Prime Minister's scheme. Yes, I agree with you. It is merged with PM scheme with the Chief Minister's scheme in Tamil Nadu. Most of the other centers who states who do not have this facility, Chief Minister's scheme, how will they apply? If Tamil Nadu government is accepting a patient from, as you said, from Orissa or Maharashtra, is there any provision that that patient can be transplanted under Chief Minister's scheme in Tamil Nadu? Number one.
Not under the chief. Sorry. You finish. I will answer.
Yeah.
I will reply.
That is the thing. So if the patient should undergo the treatment in Tamil Nadu under PM scheme, the Ayushman scheme, how much is the allocated for liver transplant and kidney transplant? What is the allocated budget or approved IN procedure amount?
See, whatever the CM scheme, Tamil Nadu government scheme is allotted around 22 lakhs or 19 lakhs for the liver transplant, same amount will be eligible for the Ayushman Bharat also. Only thing, the patient come from other state, they have to apply in the Chennai hospital and other state hospitals, and the medical clearance must be from their own state itself required actually. See,
no, I'm not asking about the medical aspect.
Okay.
I'm talking about the fund approval for the transplant. As you said, you were saying that any Indian can go to any state, have IN procedure for the cost. But I would like to know how much is the approved amount under Ayushman Bharat for liver transplant and kidney transplant. And if the amount is sufficient, if the amount is not going to sufficient, then it is no point in talking about it.
No,
I'm totally agreeing with Tamil Nadu. It is. I would like to know more about the Ayushman Bharat scheme, the specified amount for the high-end procedure like heart transplant, liver transplant, kidney transplant.
You want to know the amount about Ayushman Bharat, no? Maximum, yeah, for the procedures.
High-end procedures, especially organ transplant. We are as a transplant coordinators all over India. We would like to know more about that particular area.
Specifically, I have seen many renal transplant. Actually, sum insured is only 2 lakhs. Many renal transplant patients, they have got 4 lakhs for the renal transplant. Okay. Hello.
Yeah. See, sum assured is 2 lakhs. How come the Prime Minister scheme they will give 4 lakhs?
No, actually, sum insured is only 1 lakh per year per family. Please understand. Okay, not 2 lakhs. Okay. 1 lakh per year per family only. But for the transplant from the insurance, we will get 2 lakhs as a special case. Okay, at the time of discharge itself to the hospital. Balance amount will be borne by the health. It will come from the health fund. Government.
No. I'm not at all talking about Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is adopted and they are willing to give under Chief Minister's scheme even with Ayushman Bharat. I understand that.
Okay.
My question is, a patient comes from say about Maharashtra.
Okay.
To Tamil Nadu. What is the procedure? Is the patient can go undergo transplant in Tamil Nadu under Ayushman Bharat? If so, how much is the hospital will get? How much money the hospital will get under Ayushman Bharat?
Same amount we can get for other state people also. Only thing that referral letter have to come from the particular state. For an example, if the person come from Assam, the DMS or particular medical official, joint director, official, they have to refer a patient to Chennai or any other place, and with that referral letter, they can apply here itself. And they are eligible for the amount Tamil Nadu, the same amount they are getting in Tamil Nadu, same amount is eligible for all over other state patients also. But I have seen more of renal transplant patient. From Assam also I have seen 2 or 3 renal transplant patients for 4 lakhs. In the one medical college hospital in Chennai, outskirts of Chennai. Related to liver transplant, you give me some time, next meeting, or I will give the information to wherever you. Give me 1 week time, I will get the details. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nathan, for your presentation. Thank you, Mr. Sadayam. We'll have all the questions at the end of the session. You can type in your question in the chat box. We'll have all these questions at the end. So talking about each state's insurance, for Kerala, we have Karunya Benevolence Scheme, which was got benefited to a lot of patients in Kerala, and also we have KSSM, that is Kerala Social Security Mission. The executive director of KSSM was supposed to be the panel, one of the panelists, but he couldn't make it. So in this scheme, in the place where I work in Aster Medcity, we have got a good amount for many of our pediatric patients, like according to their income and all, when we apply for it with the transplant surgeon's letter that they are from a poor background. We have patients who have got 10 lakhs from the KSSM scheme. Sometimes it's 6 lakhs, sometimes it's 4 lakhs. So depending on the situation of the family, there are people who get inquired to the cases. The KSSM people will inquire the patient's family and their conditions. They get to know the family, what are the exact income of the family, and also a social worker come and intervene in. So the fund is allocated according to that assessment form. So that is one of the scheme that we have in Kerala. And also Karnataka government, is there anybody from Karnataka who can speak about this? Like they have got 30 crores allocated for liver transplant, kidney transplant and heart transplant For liver, it's 12 lakhs. For kidneys, 4 lakhs. So we all know that this amount is not sufficient for this transplant surgery, but still these are the insurance schemes and these are the funds that they are allocated. So we will move on to the next panelist. We have Mr. Johnson Alphonse. He is a well-experienced transplant coordinator. He is also an award winner of Best Transplant Coordinator and Best Paper Presentation in ISOT Awards. And he is the manager of transplant at Kaveri Hospital with 8+ years of experience. So welcome, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you for your introduction. Good evening, everyone here, and so this is very important topic. I really congratulate the IITC organizers. Rather, we discuss about. I think all the topics are important, like liver recipient coordination, donor coordination, and everything. And as soon as we tell the patient who you need a transplant, so they accept it, they want a transplant. The next question is affordability. Who can afford transplants? So in my experience, I would say maybe 10 years ago, if you ask who can afford a liver transplant, maybe upper class people who can spend about 30 to 35 lakhs for a surgery, and after surgery they will have to spend a lot of medications. Those days medications also was costly and other things. If you ask me 7-8 years before, maybe upper middle class people and upper class people can afford. Those time, even in Tamil Nadu there was a CM scheme, but most of the private hospitals was very reluctant to operate because they were doing more of cadaveric transplants, where a lot of other state people used to come and get it operated here and like that. So when cadaver numbers have come down and living donor liver transplants have gone up, then when they do a lot of more number of transplants, and they feel that the transplants can be done at affordable price and the prices can be come down. So hospitals like even corporate hospitals have tried to empanel themselves with this kind of schemes, and they started operating liver transplants at the scheme's rate. So I am talking about this Tamil Nadu scheme again. I think Nathan sir has already spoken about CM scheme. I would go more in detail about the process and the structures, what they have and what we need to do as a transplant coordinators. So we have under Government of Tamil Nadu, we have a project called Tamil Nadu Health System Project. Under this project, we have Chief Minister's Comprehensive Health Insurance Scheme. CM scheme and CMCHIS are different. CM scheme, they can go for angiogram and basic heart surgeries and other things. Under this CM Comprehensive Health Insurance Scheme, they have added high-end procedures. High-end procedures, there are a lot of procedures, but we will talk about the transplants. So who's the eligibility for this transplants? Who's eligible for this high-end case? First thing is the resident of Tamil Nadu who carries the ration card. And the second one is the CM Smart Card, CM Scheme Card. This will be given to people who earns 74,000, below 74,000 per annum. So per year, if they earn below 74,000, they are eligible for this card. So CM Scheme Card. So these are the eligibility for this scheme. Very simple, ration card. To people who are below 74,000. And high-end procedures in transplants, if you see, first I think they have added they are giving 4 lakhs, 2.5 lakhs for surgery and 1.5 lakhs for 2 years post-operative care. And for liver transplants, 22 lakhs. Earlier, it used to be 20 lakhs for surgery and 2 lakhs for post-operative care, and now they have changed it as 16 lakhs for surgery and 6 lakhs for 2 years post-operative care. And I think recently they have added heart, lung, and lung transplants. Heart transplant, the cost is 15 lakhs, 11 lakhs plus 4 lakhs post-operative care, 11 lakhs for surgery and 4 lakhs for post-operative care. That is 1 year only 1 year follow-up. And heart and lung transplants and lung transplants, the amount is 25 lakhs and 21 lakhs for surgery and 4 lakhs for 1 year follow-up. So total of 25 lakhs. So this pancreas, bowel and multivisceral transplants yet to be there in the list. So when many centers start doing transplants, I think I hope these transplants also will be added in that. So what is the process of this thing? So first, as a hospital, what hospital has to do to get this scheme? So like sir said about the empanelment, what hospital has to do? See, the scheme is there, but you go to any private hospital who does not have this empanelment, they cannot operate this case. So first of all, hospital has to get empaneled with this CM scheme. So first they have to, as we all know, transplants, we need transplant license. And next one is, earlier they used to have the rule called minimum 10 cases they should have operated under cash or cashless scheme, anything. So now they're saying 5 cases, minimum 5 cases that center has to be performed before to get themselves empaneled in the scheme. And these are the 2 very basic criteria. So you'll have to, what is the process? What we need to do is, once we have 2 these things, and we need to submit a request letter for this Tamil Nadu Health System project, and they will form a small inspection team, and the inspection team will come to your hospital and do the inspection, and they will give the approval. And the assessment will be morely based on the 5 cases that we have already operated, and it is very transparent process, and approval will be given. If there is any findings that they find out, they will ask you to submit more documents, and mostly they will give. So once they have approved, you will be given an access to register your patients in their website. So once you get your hospitals empaneled to operate CM scheme in this CM scheme, and the process is next, you find the patients and you do that. So how TNHSP organize these meetings, like TNHSP in the sense Tamil Nadu Health System Project, how they organize? They've organized really well, because they've got about, I think, 8 years they have been doing this. So over the period of time, they keeps evolving, and they improvise it every day, every meetings. So now I think it is very streamlined, and the process is very, very simple. So TNHSP will identify doctors from government medical colleges. They are called technical committee members. They will identify few doctors in minimum 2 doctors from government medical colleges. There will be a senior most doctors, and the date of meetings will be decided mostly on the end of month. So these meetings will be only conducted once in a month. So once in a month, that mostly will be end of the week. So, but emergency cases will always, we can approach the government and we can get it done. But normal cases, stable cases, they will conduct only once in a month. So, and that too, so all the patient, if in case a live donor, both of them have to go to the committee meeting, which is happening in the Chennai. So they have to go with all the medical documents and everything, and they have to appear physically and get it done. But if you ask me, post-COVID, maybe for past 1.5 years, so everything happens online. No patients, donors has to go there because of this COVID restriction and other things. So once the patient's approval and everything is done, earlier pre-COVID, patient, donor, and everybody has to go to the committee members, and their doctors, as a technical committee members, they will do the assessment, they will verify the file and everything. They will go through and they will give a recommendation to a project director. Project director will approve the case. So this is what the process that they organize a meeting. So once the case is approved, they will give an approval letter. With that approval letter, we can proceed for the case. So what is the requirement from the patients as the transplant coordinators from our side? What we need to do and what the patients are supposed to do to get this approval is. So we all know we have to do this pre-transplant assessment for donor and recipient that we will conduct for any transplants. So blood workup, imaging reports, viral serology, and doctor's fitness. When it comes to this CM scheme, so they ask for 12 doctors' fitness from head to toe. Starts from anesthesiology, neurology, nephrology, hepatology, and hepatology in the sense liver, and nephrology maybe. So it differs from organ to organ. And the transplant surgeon, psychiatry, ENT, ophthal, dental, dermatology, cardiology, pulmonology. These are the 12 fitnesses that we need to produce, and most of the other things that we regularly do. And these are the documents that, as a medical documents, that the patient and donor are supposed to submit to them. And apart from the medical documents, they need to provide, if it is a living donor liver transplant or living donor kidney transplant, they need to produce the authorization committee's approval, not the competent authorities' approval. They don't accept. Authorization committee approval they need to produce. And if it is a cadaveric one, they need to produce the cadaver registration document. Suppose you have registered with Transan or any other state organization, we need to produce that document. And apart from that, ration card of the local resident one, and CM scheme card, that is a smart card. So all the documents has to be submitted to them 1 day before to the committee. So if it is happening physically, they have to go on that meeting date and show all the documents. If it is happening on online, like post-COVID, we'll have to upload all the documents the day before the date of committee. And if the committee members, the technical committee members feels that they need more documents, more reports to prove that the patient requires a transplant, or patient will have more complications with the available reports, all that if they feel, they will ask for more documents. They will either approve if everything is okay, or they will put it as a pending one and ask for what all the documents is pending. Then we'll have to resubmit it, and we can get it done. So living donor cases, we can plan the cases. We can upload the letter like any other cashless scheme, like patients comes to hospital, any other cashless scheme. The same way we can provide that letter to the insurance company and get it approved. And cadaver cases, they are giving approval letter for 6 months. So post 6 months, if the patient is still waiting for their organ, then they have to give a letter and get it renewed again. So these are the overview about the CM scheme coordination which is happening in Tamil Nadu. I think that's my presentation. I can maybe questions can be asked.
Oh, very nice presentation, Mr. Johnson. So I would like to know that if you're taking liver transplant in your scheme, 22 lakhs is the total amount that they pay. 16 lakhs is for the surgery, and 6 lakhs for 2 years of post-operative medications, right? So they won't be covering the pre-transplant assessment of the patient, right?
So we need actually more clarity on this, because the CM scheme and the organizers tells us that we need to cover the pre-transplant assessment as well under the scheme. But you know, this approval, they go to the government only after the assessment, and they say that all these CM scheme cards, they have the eligibility of 1 lakh or 1.5 lakh, like Mr. Nathan sir has said. So most of the hospitals doesn't accept the CM scheme card for normal procedures. So if it is a high-end care like transplants, we accept. Sometimes the hospital can say that angiogram cannot be done here with the scheme, because hospital does not want to empanel themselves with the scheme to operate to do an angiogram for this amount. So hospital does not want to do this procedure under this scheme. So we need actually more clarity on this. I actually wanted to know about other hospital coordinators also, how they do actually pre-transplant workup.
Sorry for interrupting, Johnson.
Please, sir, please.
In CM scheme, that the angiogram and other medical management is not at all eligible. Okay. Exclusive surgery only eligible, except dialysis or chemotherapy. These are all comes under CM scheme. There are 1,173 procedures are covered under CM scheme.
Okay.
But in that, there will be no medical management is eligible for CM scheme.
Okay.
Like angiogram, even for pulmonary problem also, it is not eligible. But only in Tamil they will say, Uir Kakum, Uir Sigichai, Kana Arve Sigichai. That means life-saving surgery is eligible for that. And one more thing, they want to from 2011 onwards, before 2011, what you said like that, our general medicine, general surgery, ortho and all other procedures were done under the government scheme. But after 2011-12, all broad specialties are not accepted, not done by the private hospitals. Only it is done by the government hospitals. Only super specialty and transplant surgery can be done by the private hospitals. This is a present scheme. Okay. So no medical management.
No, I'm not saying angiogram. I just said it for an example to
Yes,
make the others
I understood
understand.
about the medical management also. See, for sometimes medical management also, poor patient have to spend more than 1 lakh and all. But unfortunately, this scheme they will not cover the medical management. And one more thing, madam, I want to discuss about the transplant finance.
Yes.
Recent trend came in transplant cases for the corporate hospital. Recent concept came as a health loan from different finance companies and different banks also, like SDFC, Bajaj Finsave and all. I want to know how many states people and how many hospitals they have utilized or encouraged this health loan from utilize. How many patients are utilized this health loan and all. Some finance company they are giving 0% loan to the patients, and some finance company they are giving 6.25%, 9.25% also. For an example, why not only the below poverty line people, the people who are affordable, maybe they are getting salary of 50,000 or 70,000 or 80,000, they are eligible, they can go for EMI option. If they want to go for liver transplant, they can utilize this SDFC or Bajaj and all. We can give we can inform to the patients. They can approach these people like SDFC or Bajaj Finsave and or health loan. If they are eligible for that, the patient will be relaxed in the financial side. Any other people who are utilized that health loan from any other state?
I have not seen any cases like that.
Yeah, recently, this is for a kind information. We have planned to empanel nearly 2 to 3 private bank and insurance companies within a month for all our Kaveri group of hospitals. Bajaj Finsave, they are giving a 0% interest for maximum of 4.5 lakhs. Okay. And SDFC, they are ready to give even up for liver transplant, but they are ready to give at 6.25% interest rate. But this will be more useful for the patient, especially for the middle class people.
Yes, exactly.
It's a new concept from the insurance company and bankers. Like personal loan, and very important what they are telling, in the hospital, on the spot they are giving the loan approval. If you give the interim bill for the procedure, they will give the loan approval. With that loan approval at the time of discharge, within 48 hours they have settled the payment, whatever the amount code they are given.
Actually, we have that same scheme in our hospital.
Okay.
For those who are having a bill of more than 5 lakhs, we have a scheme like that. We have a EMI loan like that.
Yeah.
So they have to pay.
EMI from any bank or any your?
It is from billing, and they have a MOU with the bank.
Okay, very good.
So what are the eligibility? What are the eligibility for the bank? What are the eligibility from the patient side to get the loan?
Eligibility.
For example, Yeah, please.
Yeah. The only eligibility is the bill should be above 5 lakhs. And they have to produce a few documents that they have given a property as a as a step
Yeah.
back, you know.
So what if they don't have a property?
One
So
minute.
see, this
One minute.
basically
I will answer for that. I will answer for that. See, I will one by one. I will tell you. Bajaj Finserv will give maximum loan of 5 lakhs, and very important. The patient will be more happy. It comes under 0% interest, and they will call it as 12/4. 1/3 of the amount will be paid as an initial payment and balance in the 8 installment.
Yes.
If SDFC is giving above 5 lakhs up to 20 lakhs,
So
and they are giving 24 months or 30 months.
formalities and
Eligibility, we are very particular about eligibility. Eligibility is like a personal loan only. Interest rate is 6.75 lakhs, they are told. Okay.
Okay.
How many hospitals that you know, sir, that they do procedures under this thing? Have you come across
Actually,
any
now
case?
in Chennai, nearly 10 hospitals already empaneled for this SDFC and Bajaj and all. They signed the documents.
Okay.
Leading transplant hospital, liver transplant hospital and all, they have signed the documents. This is the latest.
I'm not sure, sir.
Yeah, if you have any documents or if you have any things to show us, maybe send it to IATC. Maybe they can share it to us. We can,
The hospital
we can
or
guide the patients accordingly.
sorry? No,
Like,
no, no.
for example, if you say
they
SDFC
have their
Bank,
own, no, they have their own coordinator in the hospital.
Our clinical part at SB treating.
no, sir. What I'm asking is, suppose the STFC Bank and the Bajaj has come forward to do that, which we do not know because we are being in this field, we do not know. So when you come across any initiation from the bank side that they bring in, then maybe you can share it to IATC organizations. Maybe they can forward it to all of us so that we can guide them accordingly.
Yeah, sure, we can do it.
Yeah,
We can do it.
Okay.
And one more thing I wanted to ask you, sir. Because, sorry, Anita.
Yeah.
This pre-transplant assessment. That how do we do this pre-transplant assessment? Because they say that it has to be covered under the insurance. Because this insurance approval itself comes after the evaluation.
Netaji, yeah.
Can I just answer that?
Yeah.
Please, sir.
Okay, Johnson, that was really, I enjoyed your talk. It was very detailed presentation. Just couple of comments on the scheme that we have in Tamil Nadu. In fact, it was one of the finest scheme from the government sector. None of the states which was so active in helping the transplant patients getting funded. So that was something very encouraging from the government side. But yes, we do agree that there are some gray areas. If you just see, as you said, the pre-transplant assessment does not cover. In fact, the criteria for having a health scheme card is 74,000. If you just calculate, anybody who has the monthly income of just above 6,000 is the criteria that they have fixed. So that is something not so realistic. Number one. Number two, they have an inspection of a facility. For a center to provide an approval for scheme, but the first 5 cases is have no clarity on that. Why should they actually inspect? If at all they have wanted to inspect the facility to have a transplant, the transplant license is going to help them out. So that is already done. But if their purpose is to have the outcome, it is $1 million question because none of the centers in India has been approved for assessing the outcome of any transplants for that matter. Number 2. Number 3 is as I said, the pre-transplant part, most of our patients, be it kidney patients, liver patient or heart lung patients, they pay more than 50,000 rupees for assessment at all. And for heart lung, it costs more than $1 lakh. Now, somebody who cannot afford to, earn 6,000 rupees or early 74,000 annually, we expect them to pay $1 lakh for getting the pre-transplant test done and then go for the approvals. What if at the end of assessment, if the patient is found not eligible for transplant? That's something very gray area in the schemes as of now. But apart from that, we don't have much of a choice as of now, and we have seen too many patients getting transplanted under this scheme. So at this point in time, we should at least thank the government, which has come forward to help in large for the patients who cannot afford to take transplant. That's my
Definitely, sir. All the points taken. And one more thing I wanted to ask is like to the IITC organization. So not like any individual hospital, if they make a request, government won't agree. I agree that it is one of the finest scheme that we have across India. This CM Comprehensive Health Insurance scheme that we have in India. Sorry, in Tamil Nadu. But if you see kidney transplant, they give just 2.5 lakhs. But it is very difficult for the corporate hospital or private hospital to operate a renal transplant procedure at this cost, because this cost has come, I think maybe 7-8 years ago or 9 years ago, even before that, I don't know when this has come. But recently this heart and lung transplants has come, which is a reasonable amount, 15 lakhs, 25 lakhs for heart and lung surgery. But kidney, I think I request the IITC organization to send a request letter to the government to revise this kidney transplant, because most of the corporate hospitals who perform liver transplants does not do kidney transplants, because the amount is very, very less, because most of the hospitals are finding it difficult to operate on that amount.
Nadan sir, would you like to answer, because 2.5 it has
No, actually, yes, I will answer for this.
Yeah.
See, very important. I was from the beginning of the government scheme, CM scheme. I am speaking about 2008-9 onwards. At that time, the government of Tamil Nadu budget is very, very, very less for the health scheme. For them, they are very happy and they got very good publicity at the time of Kalaignar Kapil in 2009. At that time, no procedures, no transplant procedures. And cardiac procedures is very, very less, like CABG and all very less. But they have done only broad specialty and very few super specialty procedures. After 2011, they started to do more of super specialty procedures like CABG, neurosurgery, all these procedures came. And of course, for the government, the budget was slowly increased every year. And after that, the demand came from the corporate hospitals and other people to do the transplant procedure. Initially, they are focusing only on renal transplant. At that time itself, government was shocked because huge number of renal transplant came for the procedure. Patients came for the renal transplant. Then after that, slowly liver and heart transplant and all came. And insurance companies said they need more premium amount and all. The government is not able to manage. Then again, they say they are ready to manage different amount. So government has managed. See, we can't expect government to give to match with corporate hospital tariff or even corporate hospital general what tariff also. Of course, what you are asking from the hospital, you are right. But from the CM scheme, I mean from the government scheme, they are from they are comparing with the government hospital expenditure. They are not comparing with any other private hospital expenditure. For an example, government hospital expenditure is nothing. For every patient, they are given freely. Now they are the insurance company is giving money to the hospitals also. Now they want to focus on the government hospitals also. I will agree what you are demanding, but at the same time,
no, it is not. It is not my demands, sir. Actually, so what?
Nothing wrong with demanding. I'm also from corporate hospital. You are also from corporate hospital. Nothing wrong. Of course, we know. But see, that is the reason most of the big corporate hospitals they don't want to do any procedure in the CM scheme. We have to think about the practical, no, really. But at the same time, the healthcare industry have their own ethics. And they have to give service to the poor people. They have to earn the money. At the same time, they have to serve the people. Both they are doing, I think, Tamil Nadu, they are doing wonderful job. And very important, again, meeting is for finance related. Again and again, I think next time also we can speak about the health loan related. I think more of transplant patients are not able to bear the cost of renal transplant or liver transplant, especially the middle class people. So all you can focus on the bankers and the insurance companies who are ready to give health loan to the people. You can, the coordinators of transplant coordinators as well as the bank coordinators, both you can have chance and you can help the people. I am speaking about middle class people, of course. Yeah, definitely, you can help the people because still now, even healthcare industry people also they don't have any idea about the health loan. But it is a recent endeavor. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like
Okay.
to bring down some points to Johnson. See, in Tamil Nadu, about the Chief Minister scheme, uh, it is when you request for empanelment, that you are signing an MOU saying that as per the government norms, we are agreed to do all these things. So there is no question of including pre-operative evaluation. It is up to you to decide to whether the patient has to paying or it is mandatory. There is no, it is very clearly, the government MOU is very clearly said it has to be covered pre-operative evaluation, and with the management and the hospital is agreeing to sign that, then only your hospital is empaneled. So there is no question about whether the patient is going through transplant or not. Okay, number 1 point. Based on that only, the Chief Minister scheme is
I said,
agreed to
I know,
allocate.
I know this point actually. So, but I wanted to know, is there any process has been followed? Like, is there any clear-cut guidance? How it needs to be initiated? How do you initiate pre-transplant workup when the approval is on the completed?
It is up to
stage?
your hospital to keep that bill as a suspend account. Keep that when the patient gets transplant and when you get the money, it has to be balanced. It is simple as such. If you are ready, if you are not ready to do that, it is up to you to take a call. It is understood that the patient has to go through pre-transplant evaluation. He has to go through the approval. When he gets the transplant, and you will get that money including a pre-transplant evaluation. That's it. There is no guidelines, or it is not required from the government to instruct. Government is clearly said it has to be included within the package. It is each hospitals to take a decision how to bill, how to modify that. It is not the government headache. It is the hospital's decision how to move forward.
Okay. So, and
If you are
one
not,
more thing,
suppose you say that you got approval, you are waiting for a cadaveric organ, you don't get through the patient expires, it's up to the hospital to take a decision. That money is lost.
Okay. Sir, this part is okay. But when it comes to this topic, I think we have discussed more about our Tamil Nadu program and Tamil Nadu scheme and other things. I think we need to have one more maybe session on this Prime Minister's fund, because Sir said he will give us, he will get us some data. Maybe we can have some kind of session on Prime Minister's fund, how to apply and how to get these things done, because I was so surprised when he says that even other state patients can apply for the scheme and get it done. So I think we will tell Sir, and maybe we can call one or two more panelists to explain more about Prime Minister's scheme, so that other state patients also can get benefit out of this.
As on today, as per my understanding, Tamil Nadu government also doesn't accept other state person to get under Chief Minister scheme. Okay, so there is some gray area on that. As per what I understand from the Swachh Bharat system, they give maximum 5 lakhs, and it is very, very low tariff which they have given, and there is no specific amount for the high-end procedure. Anyway,
Okay.
we'll take it up.
Yes, of course. Okay, thank you, Sagayam. So I think we'll summarize. Before that, we have a few questions in the chat box. One question is by Mr. Augustine Joe. It's about the CM insurance. How many times a week can an individual get dialyzed under CM insurance? So I think this question can be taken by Mr. Nathan or Mr. Johnson regarding the CM insurance. How many times an individual
How many times? Sorry, how many times?
How many times a week an individual get dialyzed under CM insurance? Dialysis
Dialysis, right?
a week. How many times a week?
No, it is not like that. That CM scheme card is for 1 lakh 1 year per family. 1 lakh is eligible. We start in the January 1st.
Okay.
If it is completed on November 28th or November 10th, then the patient is not eligible for the balance period. I mean November to December.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The CM scheme will start from January 11th to next year January 10th. So it will be calculated from January 12th. Every January 12th, that particular card holder is eligible for 1 lakh.
Okay.
I am not speaking about high-end procedure and all. We are speaking only about the dialysis. I am answering only for the dialysis. Okay. Exclusive dialysis. The patient is exclusive dialysis, and only one patient is getting treated on the CM scheme card only for dialysis. Okay. If we start at January 12th up to January 11th, next year January 11th, he is eligible for 1 lakh. The dialysis will be that the insurance is giving around 7,000 rupees per sitting. It depends upon the number of sittings. Some patients are going for 2 sittings per week, or some patients are 3 sittings and all. The CM scheme is giving 7,000 rupees or 7,500 rupees per sitting.
Okay.
If it is completed in the month of January, November or December, balance month, he have to bear the cost. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nathan. And Agustin Joe has asked for, can I apply for CM scheme and also the fundraising agencies like MILAP? Actually, yes, we have had patients like that who have get fundraising from MILAP as well as support from the government also. It can be done simultaneously. And to summarize this, we have talked about... Yes,
Anita, one clarification. I don't think in our TNCM scheme, so they give money for the entire procedure. So I don't think they should club this and that, because if it is if they are doing a lung transplant, already government is giving 25 lakhs. On top of that, if they raise for another 15 lakhs, they cannot charge 40 lakhs for the surgery. So I don't think this scheme is allowing that.
Okay.
So maybe you apply for any Kerala Social Security Mission or something that some private organization run thing. So maybe I think yes, because they give some minimum amount of 5 lakhs or something. So it depends on the procedure that you do. But in TNCM scheme, they should not. I don't think they should do that. Maybe Nathan sir can confirm that.
Yeah, they shouldn't do. They shouldn't.
Okay. So the answer to Agustin Joy is no. You can't apply for both. Yes. Okay, thank you, Johnson, for clarifying that. And can we club CM and PM scheme for transplant?
No, the PM scheme comes through the CM scheme only.
Okay.
Okay, understand. You have to apply through the CM scheme. If any other state person come to the other, for example, if other state person come to Tamil Nadu, he have to apply any hospital, and he have to come with a referral letter from that particular state, and he will the hospital have to apply to the CM scheme, and the CM scheme will get the funds from the PM scheme. But till now, I heard that only maximum is 5 lakhs is eligible. Okay. Depends upon the procedure. I think that package procedures are very less like a CGHS procedure package rates are.
Okay.
Maximum it can goes up to renal transplant.
All right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Nathan. So, to summarize this session, we had discussions about the central government insurance, state government insurance, and also the private fundraising programs, crowdfunding programs happening all over the world now. So we have MILAP as well as we have different platforms called Keto, and also in Mumbai there is a transplant the poor Help the Poor Foundation. They give at least 1.5 lakhs for each patient, apart from other schemes. And also there is called TPAF that we use in our hospital, that is the Praveen Agarwal Foundation. They give at least 1.5 lakhs. And also there are other platforms like GoFundMe, where they can raise the fund in UK and US, and also when they convert the dollars or euros to India, they'll get patient gets a huge amount. So there are a lot of financial stuff going on to get fund for the transplant patients. So I thank all the panelists, Mr. Johnson Alphonse, Mr. Ajit Babu, and also Mr. Nathan. And I also thank Mr. Netaji for giving me this opportunity. Up to you, Mr. Netaji. Please go ahead.
No. The session is yours. Just wanted to have one observation, Anita. You said the series of crowdfunding platforms.
Yes.
I would be happy if you can just write a note on that and report something like that, and we can circulate among the IITC members so that it would be an eye opener for the rest of the team as well. Now, Shiva has a question. Milap, Ajit has just left, but he has left a message. And if you want to have a question, please raise it, Shiva. We can post it to him and get it answered. Over to you, Anita.
Yes, Shiva, please. Question, please.
I just wanted to thank the people because they did excellent work. We have done many pediatrics through Milap support. But I just wondering, is there any opportunity for them to support the adult people? Because we don't get much support for adult people for transportation. So I just want to ask them, is there any other way out to reach this support? But I think that developed.
Okay, so you were asking about the adult.
Can I answer, Shiva?
Please, sir.
Yes, Sagai, please answer.
I think there is no criteria for adult or pediatric. It is matter of how, as he was mentioning in his talk, about how it is spread through that period, how that message, the write-up goes among the different kind of people, and the donors who decide to whether to donate or not. That is the final call. I don't think Milap has any role in deciding on fundraising, whether it's a pediatric or adult. So in general, the population attitude towards funding, it's always towards the children. That is the sympathy part, which you get more fund, rather a patient who is ethanol related, who needs transplant, something like that. I'm not blaming them, but it is a general population. It's a general attitude of the people who see the write-up and decide whether to donate or not. I may be wrong, but I feel the Milap doesn't have any role in it to decide whether to give it only for pediatric or not, rather not giving to adults. So we need to really work on it, and that is why his teamwork, the Milap team works on a field work, gets the more information about the reality, quoting them about the family situation, like the siblings or the children who are underage of the recipient. Those kind of help, those kind of history will help the donors to decide, okay, because he is depending, he has to live because the kids has to have those kind of understanding, which help some kind of funds. Even I remember about 32 years old gentleman who got about 34 lakhs for liver transplant. So it doesn't, I always feel that it depends on how the write-up goes among the, and also it depends on how you circulate your friend circle. Maybe the recipient or the coordinator or the doctor who writes to Milap, he takes the initiative to share it to the people with the high quality, the well-to-do people, or willingness to work. That kind of support also, it is very important. If somebody who doesn't have any link with these kind of funding people are usually donors, then you always get a less response to that particular patient. If you have very good people or concerns about the, as you said, pediatric as well about the adults, it depends on the how you write up a COSAR. And also it is depends on how the people look at it, whether to donate or not.
Thank you, Sargayam. That answer was on point. And also, I would like to add, we have seen patients who have got 1 lakh in 3 days and also 1 crore in 7 days. So it totally depends upon the content of that write-up and also the videos. If it's very emotional, people will easily put money on it, especially from outside India. So it totally depends on the content of that campaign and also how many people circulate this particular link. And also MELAP have got a good digital marketing team so that they, if it's an emergency procedure, they will make a write-up in 2 or 3 days and they will immediately give it to the digital marketing team and they will share in Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn and many of the platforms. They have a authorized digital platform team. So that's a very good area to explore, and they also convert INR and Euro so that the money will be really huge if we come into an end. So it totally depends on this content.
No, I have worked with MILAP for more than 100 cases actually.
Wow.
I have got support through MILAP and for more than 100 transplants.
Mm-hmm.
If you see, most of the patients are pediatrics. 17-year-old patients, 19-year-old patients, they have not benefited through MILAP. So that's my question actually. So is there any other options? Even though the MILAP people write this, story writing, all those things they'll take care of. Entire protocols, what it has to generate fund. But the problem is for the pediatrics, yes, of course, if it is less than 10 years or 12 years, we can achieve the target within case of maximum surveys, we can able to achieve the targets. Even in 8 cases, acutely affected cases, I have benefited through MILAP or most of the pediatrics, but adult, they have not. So we just need to know what need to know specific reasons why these adult people are benefited from that. So based on my experience, and I don't know, last time I said, 30-year-old patient got 10 lakhs in a few days is gradually. But on my, cases I have not benefited even for 17-year-old patients. This was not in the standard. It's almost 3-4 years back. 4 years back, I don't know. So now we are not encouraging any adults for MILAP at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shiva, for your question. So we have come to the end of the session. I thank all the IATC academic committee coordinators, especially Mr. Netaji and Ms. Sujata, for giving me this opportunity. I had a very nice time, a very enriching opportunity too. Thank you so much, everyone.